The Sokani X60 and the Godox ML60 are almost the same size and the same output, but which of the two is the one for you? Welcome to All About Videography. My name is Dor Levy, and in this episode I will break down the pros and cons of each light point by point so you can decide which one is for you. Now let's start with the build quality and reliability. So when Sokani released their first version of the X60, it had many problems, mostly with the insane fan noise. Then they came with the second version, which fixed almost everything I complained about, but what they did not improve, and I found it in the hard way, was the DC input. The DC input broke loose and sank inside the frame. And when that happened, you could not use the light. So obviously there was a reliability issue with the Sokani X60. Now this one is the X60 version 2 replacement with fixed DC input plug. Plug is inserted through the case versus glued from the inside of the case. So with that improvement, the Sokani X60 should be considered reliable light, but is it? Now I will talk about it later in the video. Now besides the DC plug issue, the Sokani X60 is built like a tank. The Godox ML60 is made of steel as well, but the Sokani is made more robust than the Godox. With that said, the Godox ML60 is the first Godox COB light made of steel. Now let's talk about the Godox reliability. I've been using the 3 Godox SL60 intensively for over a year now, and I never had a problem. I cannot say the same thing about the Sokani X60, at least not until now. By the way, I did full review of both lights, the links will be down below. Moving on, both X60 and the ML60 have the same output. Here they are both with a reflector, without a reflector, and a softbox. The Godox ML60 dims 100% to 0. Sokani advertised it as 100% to 1%, but it is 10% in reality. Both lights have effects built in. The Sokani has 10 effects and the Godox has 8 effects. I personally don't care about the effects, and it will not put any weight on my decision which of the lights is for me. Now, the controllers and the display on the Godox are more intuitive than the Sokani in my opinion. With the Godox there are only 2 dials and a menu. The Sokani has 4 buttons, 1 selector, and 1 dial. The only thing I found to be a bit easier on the Sokani is going through the effects. Sokani fan noise improved dramatically in version number 2, and I consider it to be a very quiet fan. The Godox ML60 fan is even quieter than the Sokani X60 fan. With Godox ML60 you can turn off the fan at the cost of losing 50% of the intensity, but I don't see why would you need to do that. The fan just like that is very quiet. The yoke on the Sokani is the rosette style, and it is made of metal, which means that you can hold a heavy softbox with no problems. The yoke on the Godox is made of plastic, and the lock-on mechanism is strong, but nothing like the rosette style. It can only hold a small softbox. The Sokani has a Bowen mount and the Godox has a proprietary Godox mount. The Sokani can use any Bowen mount accessories. With the Godox ML60 you are limited. As much as I know, Godox offers only 1 softbox for this specific mount. With that said, you can convert the Godox to a Bowen mount, but you will lose the small footprints of the light. Now if you plan on using the ML60 primarily with a Bowen mount, just know that it is not as easy as the X60 to adjust the position with heavy softbox. The Sokani has a handle grip and the Godox has nothing. Both the Godox and the Sokani reflectors have a diamond cut designed to intensify the light output. The Sokani reflector is more robust than the Godox, and it supposedly has a much stronger fit than the Godox. Now with the Godox there is no rattling, but there is some free play. The Godox ML60 was designed to be run and gun light. It can work with both DC power and batteries. The entire battery system of the ML60 is well thought out. You can mount it on the light grip or clip it to your belt. The Sokani can only work with a DC power supply. You can rig something for the Sokani to work with batteries, but it will never be sophisticated as the Godox ML60, and also will be very expensive to rig one together. Now let's talk about the small stuff. The Sokani comes with a remote. The ML60 does not, but you can get one for an extra charge. As well, you can adapt any Godox remote if it has the ID function. With the Godox, you are getting a power supply holder, which is something you should not take for granted. I wish the Sokani X60 came with one as well. The Godox power supply cable is longer than the Sokani power supply cable. They both have a mount for a fan umbrella. The Sokani needs to be tightened with a thumb screw. The Godox is screw-free. It has a latch that holds the umbrella from sliding out. The Godox carrying case is more firm than the Sokani X60. Something to consider about the Godox ML60 is the cost. The ML60 with a bow and mount accessory is almost $300, $50 short than the VL150. So you really need to think if you need the portability or not. Is having a battery operated light worth the extra $150? Almost double the price of the Sokani X60. Another thing you need to know, the quality control of Sokani is not on par with the Godox quality control. For example, the X60 first version reflector rattled excessively. Then they fixed it on the version number 2. This light is an improvement second version. All Sokani did was fix the DC input, but listening to this, it rattles again. Not as bad as it was on the first version, but still rattle. Now, I can only assume that some other X60 rattle is less than the other. It all depends on which batch you got the light from. If they had a good quality control, it would never leave the factory. By the way, you can fix the rattle. Underneath the mount is 3 small plates. What you need to do is bend the plates so it will put pressure against these 3 reflectors square on the reflector mount. Bottom line, the Godox ML60 can do more. The question is, do you need more? The Sokani XL60 is as small as the ML60 when you combine it with the bow and mount adapter. It is much cheaper. You can find it on Amazon as low as $149, but you might need to replace it a couple times until you get a perfect unit. If you're getting the Sokani, just remember you need the second version, which is the one with a rosette locking mechanism. Also make sure the DC input is the updated one, and last, make sure the reflector does not rattle excessively. I hope you find this video informative. Please consider subscribing to this channel to see more videos like this one. Hit the notification bell and don't forget to like this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.